Thank you very much, Moshe. I would have enjoyed those few moments of silence even more if Charlotte had not made me conscious of snoring during the. I was very worried that am I doing that yet or not? So, John, can we request you, please? Nearly come in. John, can we ask you?
Hi, can we get the thing on? He's doing it. Hi, everybody. It's great to see so many friends, and inspiring is a word that crept into my head during that contemplation, so Moshe, thank you very much for that. Luckily, I've been given 4 hours to go through what we've all done over the last 12 months. So if you want to get a glass of water or something, we've got 4 hours set for this. I just want to say one thing, actually, before we kick off, and that was, did anybody else feel the same thrill when Rani heard about Scotland and charity, which is spelt wrong, by the way? I thought we'd sort of point that one out to you for our American friends. When do we get our language back? Okay, so that thrill is what we get when something creative happens, something inspiring happens, where there's a connection that didn't exist before, and suddenly something happens. What we're going to do is just remind ourselves very quickly about how we got here, but fundamentally to say where we're going to go next, because today is Action Day. If we could bottle that feeling that Rani had when she heard that, and we could make a system do that when we're not in these meetings, much as we love these meetings, hands up those who would love for that to happen. You're supposed to all put your hands up at that point. Because if we could systemize and automate that, then we can amplify, we can spread this amazing movement around the world, we can educate, we can inform, we can identify capability and resources that we didn't even know existed. Wouldn't that be great? So I think that's the basis upon which we're going to go through this right now. I've been asked just to remind ourselves what we've done, though, over the last 18 months, which has been an amazing journey, which we've been very privileged to be part of. And that is to explain that we've been capturing the discussions in all of these meetings, and we've been trying to visualize them and write down a narrative. There is a health warning to all of this, which is if you weren't in those meetings, some of it will be quite a long narrative. Those of you who have come up to us and said amazing things, we thank you very much for that. But this was done purely to honor those of us that were in the room at that time, less about coming out with the final answer. And Raz has been brilliant at giving us the space to go and think about stuff. But to the quotes that we've just heard about moving from thinking to doing, we really want to make a difference. We really want to make something happen. And so I'm going to keep our presentation pretty much on that. But on the screen, you'll see these little drawings were done really just to sort of honor, as I say, the ideas. If you go into these links, you will find a drawing about pretty much everything that we've ever talked about ever. So go for it. Goal 8 is subdivided by a lot of little goallets. I think goallets is a new word. I've just made that up. But there is 12 of them or something, and we've done a little drawing of each one of them. You're welcome to steal these little drawings and Twitter them and put them on social media and just claim them as your own, because they are. And it's a way of communicating which we call, visual communication, don't we? Storytelling. We don't mind too much. But our entire year has been spent listening to try and form a structure and a framework that we're going to present for making the thrill systemized. In here, and I'm not going to go through this now, you'll be pleased to know, is a definition of our role, and we heard a lot about it again reinforced today. I don't think that's changed very much. I think our mission hasn't changed very much. Goal 8 certainly hasn't changed very much, and the problem hasn't gone away very much. So we want to get active. We've built a system which we're going to explain to you, which is a way that once you're invited and you're asked to subscribe and put in your detail, your capability, your assets, your ideas, your thoughts, anything you like, because it's communicable, it's structured. Hazel will explain where we want you to start to put that stuff. Then we can scale. Here's the thing. We go and do this kind of work with every large and small organization on the planet. The reason they don't transform is because they don't talk to each other. They don't collaborate. They go to meetings. That's work for some of these organizations, not for us. If we want to be a network, we'd better be 24/7, always on, having these discussions with each other whenever we can, all the time. And we have these amazing little things. If you haven't got one, I commend it. It's a really good little device. It's got the world in there. And for us, this is about how to get this message into everyone's hands, literally. So I commend you to get these links. We will send them out again. If you haven't seen them, there is some stuff in there. You can just laugh, joke, share, do something about it. You know, that's up to us. At the bottom of these links, you will find a deeper and deeper discussion about the various sessions in various parts of the world. I don't know where that is. I'm joking, rather. I'm joking. Yeah. How to consume the document. The aim of our days together, our guiding principles, the path we've been on, the various working groups, they're all defined and described. How do we stay on target? What is the governance? What is our ambition around metrics? What does changing a value system and creating grassroots movements mean? What is our focus? What are our processes? What is it that we're trying to get towards to make these things work? Monitoring compliance, developing effective policies, changing the reward systems. Everything we've heard about in these meetings was just reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. I doubt very much whether we would have a difference of opinion about very much of this stuff, but then definition is the killer. And then this morning, just to summarize this, we talked about friendship, which I thought was a lovely way to start the day, because if we could unpack the meaning of that, it's one of those words that's not been abused by everybody. But for us, it's about noticing. Bishop Alistair said, beautiful phrase. People don't even notice that this is a problem. The story about the taxi driver in New York, absolutely. Isn't that incredible? People who, tell me what a great thing it is to have gone and bought a really cheap pair of jeans, and I ask them, why do you think they're cheap? And they go, I don't even care. I just know they're cheap. This is about behavioral change. And if we don't get behind some of these systems, it ain't going to happen. So I commend you to go here. I commend you also to look at the actual strategic plan. These have been sent out to some of us. I know not everybody has it, but we do want to make it real. And this goes into yet more detail. We were unable this morning to put up the structure. I don't know whether it's worth pausing at this point for, Romy, you wanted the structure up this morning, or Raza? I don't mind pausing at this point and letting someone else speak about this organization, but we had technical difficulty this morning. Does anybody want to speak to it?
Thank you.
It might be helpful because we've changed the structure of Podio to follow this a little bit.
So I see a very square structure. That's myself. So I need to. Can we have that?
Yeah, you probably need to go back to my computer screen, not your face.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
So this is what we were talking about this morning, where we have the GSN with its executive board and its advisory board, and we talked about it, which would guide the initiatives on the verticals of each sector, I think, and on the horizontal matrix you can see what is coming out is each sector and each country. So we have to see, if you look at the y-axis, we have the sectors. On the x-axis, we have the 8.1, 8.2 and those goals. So if we want to see what is the area that each sector can most contribute in, we may be able to find areas like 8.7, which is ending slavery, faith can play a major role, whereas supply chain and education creating jobs could be played by businesses, and legislation and the government-related issues can be played by government. So there are different areas that we can put our targets on very clearly. We are talking about regional growth, we are talking about national programs, and what I'm really encouraged to see that we haven't finished the event today. It's not the end of the day here yet, and I already heard discussions starting to explore the possibilities of having a chapter in EU, and I don't know what will be the outcome, but at least just the fact that people are thinking, considering, and exploring is exactly what's needed today. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, so like I say, I'm not going to go through this in detail. I'd love you guys to spend some time on this. There was a lot of stuff that reflects on how we got here, but more importantly, where we're headed next. I love the word galvanize too. Isn't that a great word? You know, if we are this committed and we're all, you know, still have the same energy for this, then we can make anything happen. In this document, what it's not. In this document, what it is. A strategy, a system, and a way forward. We have gone as far as we possibly can. What I'd rather do than go through this, because those of you who've seen this stuff, this is quite tedious to go through, is hand over. And you remember I mentioned in Dubai, those of you who were there, that I wouldn't have been able to stand up on that stage and do that day were it not for my buddy here, who had an unfortunate personal situation. And remember, we sort of called her out specifically on stage, which was a very nice moment. I'm going to hand over to Hazel, who's put a lot of effort into the stuff that actually makes that engine work. And my final kind of caveat is, we're not fans necessarily of this particular piece of software or any piece of software. What we're fans of is everybody getting involved and turning it into something that's going to make a difference. So we're not here selling a piece of software. If someone's got a better piece of software, bring it on. But you guys have done such great work, and we've tried to put most of it into this system. So I'm going to hand over to Hazel. Thank you very much. We got a lot of wires over here. Sorry about that.
This is going to be a challenge. Reach the mic and the computer. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSN platform, which is much better than looking at me. Okay, as John said, we've picked a platform, we've picked a product that actually we've just got experience in. But the main reason we chose this platform was because it's great at connecting. And everything we talk about at every event is all about connecting, whether it's people to people, people to ideas, ideas becoming initiatives, initiatives connecting to global goal targets, those initiatives connecting to achievements. It's a lot of things to connect. It's certainly not a two-dimensional structure. And we've talked a lot today about the need for structure and organization. And so what we're hoping this platform will do is give us the foundation for that, structure and organization. And hopefully very soon, you're going to get invitations coming out to join this. Many of you, a few of you, have already submitted on the web form. You'll find that you already exist in this platform. You just haven't seen yourself in it yet. So the next step will be, once we've explained and introduced this to you, is to actually get invitations out so you can actually take part in it. The idea then is you can find out who's doing what, who's interested in what, who might be able to help you with something. And wouldn't it be wonderful if we could go in there and find out how exactly that action plan for Pakistan was created and what the experiences were. That's what this platform is here to do. Now, we've split it actually into two, they call them workspaces. So there's two workspaces. I'm not going to take you through every single app that's in here. The important things to stress are this is completely configurable. We put this together so we had something to test, that whether this is going to work, how it would work, to get something happening basically so we could move to action. We can change pretty much anything in here, and that's the beauty of this tool. So it's completely, the language in it can be ours, the structure can be ours, what we choose to put in it and how we organize that information can be ours. And there's a lot of power in the way we choose to organize the information, because it means we can find more stuff. We can learn more, we can share more. So if I can get my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. The one we're looking at the moment, we're called, if somebody's posted, so one we're looking at the moment, we've called the Information Center. Now, that's basically a kind of go-to place. That's where every member detail comes in, and you will see that everybody who's put the web form through is already sitting in here with their details. We're going to have to do something about resizing your pictures, but you're all in there. And we can already do things like search for people who can provide policy advice, or search for people involved in specific sectors. We can find people who are interested in specific goal targets. We can get pretty smart and actually filter that to really, really specific things and start searching for a particular goal, for a particular expertise, for a particular sector. And that's all ours to choose. You know, that's just something we've been imagining for the past months now, and after sitting through these events and thinking what would actually be useful and what might we all benefit from. We'll only really know if we've got that right when a few more people are in here and you start using it. So that's why we're really keen to get people on there. We'll test it, we'll break it, we'll find things that don't make sense, but we'll actually get it really powerful as a result. So the big ones in here to know about, somebody asked the question before about we've been submitting forms with our ideas. We've got the notion of ideas and initiatives, so everything starts out as an idea. So you will see, if you've submitted a form, that your ideas are actually here, they've been captured, this is where they've ended up. And the next stage for them is to be checked out and validated, at which point they can become initiatives. Now we've managed to make that a pretty automated process, so we don't want a lot of people having to do a lot of work managing a system. So the minute anything gets qualified in here, and I'll just open up any one of these to show you, there's a lot of data in here, and it's connected to a lot of things. So even by opening up one idea, you can find out more about the introducer, you can look at the sectors. Every one of these is a hot link to another part of the system. So you can explore and navigate, and it all connects. That's the vital thing. If we went as far as putting that as a qualified in, if I change that status, it's going to automatically be transferred to the other workspace that we've got, which is all about action and initiatives, and that will just get transferred automatically. Somebody, and I think Shannon's probably the first person that's actually experienced this, the introducer will get an email saying, great, you're in, you've been qualified, you've got an initiative in GSN now. Now, we've still got to work the process, the workflow beyond that point, but listening to what's happened today, what I can see happening is the action groups will then start bringing the information in here, connecting with each other, making sure all the members of that action group are sitting in this system, they've got their invitations in, and you can collaborate to your heart's content and share as much as you want through this system. Everybody can see everything in here unless you're direct messaging. Raza?
I just wanted to ask you, is it okay for people to ask questions if they have any as you go along?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you know that there'll be a test after that, so in case you haven't understood, not asked. So, anyway, if anybody has any questions, because I didn't understand a few things.
Okay.
So, in case, I will ask later. So, if any one of you have any questions, you can ask. Please go ahead.
Okay, sure, anytime.
If you send a note to somebody, I mean, I think so much of what has been effective in this meeting has been kind of the serendipitous meetings or common networks or linkages. since we're not kind of steeped in that system, if you send a note to somebody, will they get an email notification, or will they have to know, will they have to be checking in?
The very starting point is that when you submit an idea, you provide an email for your contact. So the initial point is you'll get an email back. So we know that at least everyone will get a response. Then what we need to make sure works really smoothly is you get invited in so you can carry on your discussions within the system. Now this is a collaborative platform, so you can add commentary, you can direct message, you can video chat. So you can carry on as much of your conversation within the platform that you want, but you are sharing your contact details from the beginning.
And you can add in the commentary too.
Yeah, it's like any kind of social tool. You use the @ you message people directly, you make sure, and they will get notified. You can set notification settings so you can follow everything if you want. You can limit it to the things you're particularly interested in. So you've got all the typical choices you get in social.
I'm curious to learn more about how you're thinking about privacy and security for the system. On the one hand, given the trust circle that we have and the nature of the members of the community, privacy and security is important. On the other hand, given the global nature of the work and the urgency of the work, it may be that there are some aspects that it would be beneficial to share broadly with the web community for open source sharing, feedback, and sharing our resources with others who are doing similar things. So how have you thought about that balance?
Right, great question. At the moment, we've asked people to confirm when they register that they're willing to share their initiative with this group. This is a group that's invitation only, so it's not available to everybody. It's only if you've been invited in, you will get access to it. Everyone who's invited into this system is deemed to have access to everything that's in here. So there is a permission given to share your initiative, and you decide how much of your personal contact details you provide when you submit your registration to it. And that's about as far as we've got at this stage. John?
I will just add a bit of clarification to that so far, because we have not set to define charters and details on it. So for this moment, we are trying to make sure that people who are invited here are the ones who will be given the access in order to make sure that there is level of privacy that is maintained. The guests of the people who are invited at this point are not invited as in the Podio system, but they are welcome to attend. So the members of GSN would have access at the moment. So, and as we go along, we will find ways how the GSN members could talk to some other platforms, but for us to give access to all the personal details and communication and discussions and ideas could pose a risk to all our members, because you will start getting junk mails, invitations, solicitation of funding, etc., etc. So we're just trying to keep privacy.
And on a general product level, this product has now been taken over by Cisco, and they have pretty secure standard security policies in place. So we're pretty confident that the product itself follows the standard expected security protocols. Okay, we'll go back on the screen. Okay, now we're good. Okay.
I think it's fine to keep the lights on, and you can show whatever you want. The TV is bright enough.
Okay.
Yes, could we go back to the slide that has the division of responsibility, the first one, the box chart?
Which one?
It had the regions and topics. So it was the organisation chart.
Is it your? Oh, it's the other slide.
Yeah,
Okay,
hold on
it's
a
this
sec.
one here. This one.
Go back up, yeah.
I managed, as you can see, to get through that test, having had to tell it 3 times that I wasn't a robot. Yeah, that's the one. Can't read it very clearly, but I think I'm right in saying that the divisions there are all geographic.
So those are regions.
Yes.
Regions and then countries under those regions.
Yes. If I can just suggest something that might be considered, I'm in an organisation that's not unlike this one, the New York State Bar Association's international section. And yes, there is a whole series of activity that has to be organised on a regional basis. But then separately, and picking up Elliot's comment earlier that there's a huge amount of intellectual capital in this room, they also have what they call chapters that are the regional bodies, and then committees which are, in effect, subject bodies that go across boundaries. And it would seem to me a pity if the only basis of subdivision that we recognise is a geographic one. We need to have, I think, a capacity to recognise topic areas as well where people might come together.
No, that is, see, actually, that's a good point, and that's already considered. So the subject body, which is the sector-wise, you have the global issue. So you've got regional bodies for the implementation, but like, for example, business, you have a global body for that, but in each country, each region, they will have their own thing, but reporting to global.
Yes, I picked that up in what was said. It's just that in that sense, this chart is a little misleading because it doesn't pick up that activity.
This is just to give we had 2 options, to not give you this and just speak, or just to give you a slight idea and show you that something like this is being worked on.
Sure.
Go back. Yep. Okay. Okay, gosh, I'm getting more posts in. Okay. One of the other ones that's worth showing, I mean, when you get in, you'll be able to explore all of these, they call them apps, basically, and see how they're all connected up and the content that we've managed to populate so far. Some of this is very weak on content right now. We're going to need people to add as much as possible onto this, but we've put in as much as we can in, particularly in something like the GSN library, where every time we hear about some great thing that's happening, we've been dropping it in here in readiness. So we've already got about 71 entries in there, 2 of which we put in today while we were listening to some of the presentations. So this is a place where we hope we'll build a great body of knowledge. Currently, it's a lot of links. It's mostly links to either organizations or initiatives that we've heard about. It could be best practices. It could be practical experience and know-how. And we can categorize it and organize it in whatever way we want to make it easy to find information so that we really are doing what we're saying. We're leveraging what's out there across this network. Any more on that? I'm going to jump to the second workspace, which is the one that's all around initiatives. So we've put the ones in that you've heard talk about today. They've already gone in here as actual initiatives. And in each one of these, you'll see that they're connected to the goal targets, the deliverables that are expected as a result of this initiative. When we get these fully populated, because they've only just gone in recently, we want to hear what those planned achievements are. We want to know how they relate to other initiatives. As we go into achievements, we'll be asking people then to say, well, it's great, give us your achievement, but also tell us how you're going to measure that achievement. So along this part of the system, you'll see it's all about knowing what the initiative is, the outcome of that is going to be, the measurement of it, and how we're doing against it. So this is where we really test that there is action, that there is things happening, that we can report on them, and that we don't have to wait until we get to the next event to suddenly discover so much has been happening that we just didn't know about. This way, you should be able to know about it the minute it happens and the minute somebody puts that information in. Obviously, like any collaborative system, it's hugely dependent on people being willing to put that effort in and put the information in, and that's going to be one of the big tests, I think. for those of you, a little incentive, for those of you, John said you could grab all the images that you wanted in here. You'll see all those images in here. So once you get your invitations in here, you're welcome to download any of the images that you see. And we've also, in both workspaces, when you go into the main page, you'll see links. You can flip between the two workspaces here. You can also get access to the full image folder of every image that's been developed. So there's more resource than there is just in this platform. It's a link to everything else. We link out to the GSN website. The whole purpose is to connect everything up so that we're not repeating things, we're not duplicating, we're not missing anything. Is that making sense? Yeah.
Two questions, if I may. One is about access to the system itself. I received a few links from Miguel. I don't believe that any of them allowed me to go into the system. Is this correct, or I missed the link?
No, you won't have had your invitations yet.
Okay. So that's the first question. The second question is, what was the second question? Right. So you went over very quickly the idea of having two things. One is an idea and the other is an initiative.
Yep.
Do I understand you correctly if I say that there's a quote-unquote vetting process from idea to initiative, and then vetting process from initiative to actual initiative?
No, idea to initiative only. There's just one qualification. An idea, when you submit your details on the form, and I know you've done a few, they go in as an idea. They get flagged in the system as ideas needing vetting, so they're filtered out very quickly. And then once they get qualified through that, they become an initiative, or you get told for whatever reason they're not deemed to be a GSN-supported initiative.
Great. And the second they are deemed as a GSN-supported initiative, I can go ahead and start actioning. Okay.
That's my understanding. Yeah, Raza, any comment to that?
We want to go through a vetting process, and for that we're just organizing our committees, that what should be the structure of clearing that. So if it is an idea received by us, first we select that this idea is related to, for example, business. So we would send it out to the business committee for them to vet it out and propose it to the executive board that these are their comments, and then for the executive board to finally approve endorsing it or not. So we're in the process of doing it all.
Okay, great. So the idea remains an idea until that vetting process takes place, at which point it gets deemed as an initiative.
So idea is your idea, that, you know, these are my thoughts and ideas about things. But if you have an initiative and you want it to become a GSN initiative, then you submit that GSN initiative as an initiative. And that initiative, for it to be endorsed as a GSN initiative, is going to be, is going to go through the process. We are not here, see, when you talk about venture capital, you look at what stage you're getting in. Are you looking at the green fields, or are you talking about the scalability part? Are you talking about a business which is a startup, or are you talking about scalability? So yeah, we are not here to sort of incubate new ideas. For that, I think there are a lot of other organizations doing it. What we want to do is to be able to encourage people to work together in achieving Goal 8. So the things that they have been doing, we want them to go and find a platform, start something. When you're making that impact, that's the time you get invited over here.
Okay, so that opens up a couple of more questions then, if I may. So for instance, one of the initiatives that we've submitted is protecting labor rights for individuals with special needs in the GCC or Middle East. Another is imposing a minimum wage in the Middle East. Do you see that as something? So
have you done the study on that, if anybody is working on it?
Pardon me?
Have you done any study on it? Who else is working on it?
We are in the process of doing that.
Yeah, so that's the part where I'm trying to explain that there's a good idea. These are amazing ideas, and we need to do a lot of good things, but we want you to do your homework before you submit it so that we don't start doing the work and vetting and have the executive board meeting before you have done your part of checking that there are another 20, 30 organizations doing it. You should be collaborating with those initiatives, coming up and coming back to us saying, we have an initiative which needs scalability, which needs exposure, which needs visibility, and we would want GSN to endorse it or support it.
So, okay, so then if there isn't an organization that's already doing that, which is to say it's a complete...
Then you've got to find the seed funders with a good idea and share the idea. You've shared the idea with us. We will also talk about this idea within GSN, that some people are there, and if they like the idea, and if this idea is vetted as a good idea, maybe somebody within the GSN network would come up with saying, yeah, I can connect you to so-and-so who would like to scale up their initiative by incorporating your idea into their initiative, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure where to go next.
Should we show them again?
Show them again. What should we show them again?
No, don't worry. I think the questions are really, really very helpful for us because this is the first time we've had the opportunity to show this to people. The fact is, I think probably most of you have been aware of social media. It works just like that. Most of you are getting comfortable with that. Some of you might be scared stiff and never, ever going to go anywhere near it. You know, we get that. However, if we're going to create a global network, we can't think of any other way of doing this. If you tried to do this manually, I don't know what that would look like. So all we're trying to do is put in that scalable system that allows us to share these things when we're not in meetings and share these things for the benefit of everybody. And I think everybody in the room gets that. What's interesting to me is when we have these kind of conversations with clients and say, you need to put in some sort of collaborative system, they say, it's really hard and really tough. And we say, well, try not doing it. Right? If you're not collaborating and you're not putting the effort into these kinds of things, anything you try and do will just collapse. There'll be no energy for it. There'll be no connective tissue. So we're just trying to want to work with you. We're not saying this is the right thing or the thing or there's not a better thing. You know, bring it on. But this is the thing we have right now. And, you know, we just thank you for listening to us. But that's what we've got so far. So have a look at the links. Those of you who've been good enough to contribute to this so far, brilliant. And those of you who haven't yet and get invitation, we'd love you to come and help us get it better.
And please, anyone who hasn't submitted your details through the web form, if you want to be put onto here and invited into here, we need you to do that first, because that's how we get the list to go through to start making the invitations.
Thank you.